All right. Ace Attorney Investigations 2, Turnabout Legacy. The finale. Everything should wrap up here in a nice, neat bow, hopefully. April 2nd. Zodiac Hall. Fountain Room. Miss Bound, are you feeling a little calmer now? No, I'm not. Yes. Good, then allow me to get to the point. Regardless of your intentions, you broke the law. Yes, I understand. Nevertheless, I understand that you did what you did in order to prove Mr. Tangaroa's innocence. Therefore, if the real culprit really is someone else, then we have a duty to reinvestigate the case. There is nothing to suggest that anything nefarious took place in the official IS-7 incident records. And right now, there is nothing to suggest that we should take Miss Bound at her word, either. So, our first order of business would be to arrest the culprit of the case before us, Miss Bound herself.
Objection!
Official records cannot always be trusted, Judge Gavale. Especially since there are those prosecutors who would think nothing of twisting the facts.
Overruled!
Are you suggesting that the committee at the time overlooked just such a prosecutor? That's for you and your people to figure out. However, it is a fact that the autopsy report was faked, seeing as Mr. Frost's body was only found just now. Yeah, do your job, heifer. There really is something of Mr. Von Karma in you, Mr. Edgeworth. How so exactly? By continually defying the will of the committee and bending the truth to fit your needs. That's how. That is not how you spell committee. We're going to add that to the list of typos. Perhaps it is time you understand how I, no, the committee, see that's how you spell it, sees this case. Woman, you. I don't like her. The committee is willing to accept that Mr. Von Karma falsified Mr. Frost's autopsy. Even still, Mr. Von Karma only managed to have Mr. Tangaroa convicted as an accomplice. I personally have come to believe that the real culprit behind the IS incident is Miss Bound. Her plan to poison and kill Mr. Gusto today was her attempt to frame him for Mr. Frost's murder. Why does that matter if it's been 18 years? And this is how the committee sees things, is it? So you've talked to your little cronies. Is that what I'm supposed to understand here? It is. As always, I act solely in service of law and order. Sounds to me like all she's doing is acting in service of the committee. And if I can't change my mind, there will be no saving Mr. Tangaroa or Miss. I don't like her. I'm kind of ready for her to just go away. I feel like she wasn't as irritating in the original band translation.
Hold it!
I feel like she was irritating, but nothing. Why would Miss Bound have chosen to frame Mr. Gusto for the murder? No doubt because he suspected her of being the real culprit. He may have entered what he thought was the Winter Wing, simply to see if the Gemini statue was genuine. Little did he know that he would be greeted by a trap designed to silence him. A trap that nearly...
Objection!
Do you you have any evidence to support that line of reasoning? Unfortunately, Mr. Gusto remains in critical condition. It will be difficult to prove anything until he regains consciousness. In other words, there is little we can do for now. On the contrary, there is plenty we can do. You still have not grasped the situation, have you? Then allow me to spell it out for you. We have all the evidence we need to explain both the IS-7 incident and the poison gas attack. We have therefore determined that there is no need to investigate either case any further.
Hold it!
I hit the wrong button. You really mean to assert that there are no loose ends left to investigate? None at all? All of the evidence has been examined at length, and there is nothing more to be learned from it. Therefore, I see no need to further prolong this trial. Your Honor, I'm certain there's something that still needs to be examined. The hammer is about to fall, Mr. Edgewood. Only hard evidence can stop it now. Present what you think requires further deliberation now, assuming there really is anything left, that is. This isn't over yet, not by a long shot. There's still one thing we don't have an answer to. It's up to me to point it out to Judge Gavale. Objection! I don't know why I just turned into Pee Wee Herman for a second. I'm afraid there's still one question concerning the IS-7 incident that remains unanswered, Your Honor. Would you mind taking a look at this? What is it? They're test results carried out on the liquid at the bottom of the Gemini case on the Winter Wing. As you can see, traces of blood were detected. The question is, whose? Until that question is answered, I hardly think you can claim to have all the evidence. Oh, snap. There was blood in the Gemini case? Why did I not hear about this from Eustace? Because he's an idiot. Girl, you are not that blind. Because Detective Gumshoe informed me of this. Because Detective Gumshoe informed me of the results directly. I was planning to tell Mr. Winter about it myself, of course. You kept this to yourself until now? Despite having no jurisdiction here whatsoever? So what? Mark my words, the committee will hear all about what you have done here today. Go ahead. As ever, my interest is in the truth. And if mistakes were made in the past, they must be rectified. If you must report me to the committee, then so be it. But in return, we must be allowed to investigate this case to the very end. That is not my decision to make. Oh, no, it is not? Is that the story we're going with? You will need to discuss it with Eustace. Oh, Lord. Guess who's back, losers? And with good news, too. The hell were you? Oh! It was a close call for a minute there, but Carmelo Gusto is alive. Gusto. He made it. Oh, he's got a seahorse tattoo on his hand. I like it. You're the ones who found me? Yep, long time no see, Gusto. You're the attorney's assistant? You've grown. And you have an assistant of your own now? Assistant? No, I'm... Nah, he hasn't gotten the gig just yet. This is Gregory Edgeworth's son. Prosecutor Miles Edgeworth at your service. Fate moves in mysterious ways. I'm in your debt. If you hadn't found me in time, I wouldn't be here to thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. After all, if you hadn't lived, we wouldn't be able to ask you what really happened 18 years ago. What are you talking about? We figured out quite a bit while you were out cold, including the fact that you're probably the guy who offed poor Artie Frost. What? Is that true? Miss Bound set up a very elaborate trap to catch Mr. Frost's murderer. A trap that involved rigging the Pisces case with poison gas. Perhaps in light of that fact, you could tell us in your own words what happened back then. Oh, snap. Oh, shit. A lot. Okay. Or perhaps you'd rather exercise your right to remain silent. Oh, no, it's not that. Gusto here is a big fan of the old meditation. You know, Om and all that jazz. Wow, sleeping while standing seems pretty cool. That's one heck of a talent. But there's no sleeping involved in meditation. Hey. Gusto. Your Gusto, old pal. How about you snap out of it and tell us what went back down? Or what went down way back when? I think that's how that laugh is supposed to go. I was caught in the girl's trap, so I must be the killer? Is that your idea of a joke? I'm the victim here. Indeed you are, Mr. Gusto. And there is no evidence that you have done anything wrong. Mr. Edgeworth and Mr. Fender are merely speculating. Rest assured that they have no authority here, and that you pay them no heed. At least somebody here seems to be on my side. Judge Verity Goodfail. It's a pleasure, Mr. Gusto. I will assist you in any way you may require. Perhaps you could begin by explaining what actually happened 18 years ago to Mr. Edgeworth? Fine. You want me to prove I'm innocent, Mr. Prosecutor? I'll be happy to.
Objection!
So this is how you mean to play it, Judge Gavale? You're hoping Mr. Gusto will help you hide what happened instead of trying to correct the record? I believe only in the infallible judgment of Goddess of Justice. Except it is us humans who make the actual judgment calls in a court of law. And so long as there are those who would use the law to their advantage, our rulings are fallible indeed. If you would use your position to further obscure the truth, then neither she nor I will forgive you. We shall see that. What do you advise, Judge Gavale? It would seem that you are under suspicion because it was you who triggered the poison gas, specifically by opening the Pisces case's lid. Would you be so kind as to share why with us? Understood. I came to see Frost's sculptures. Simple as that. I made a mistake with the opening times and arrived a half hour early. Miss Bound, was there no one at the reception desk around that time? Why was the door unlocked? I had left the main entrance unguarded and unlocked just in case the pit killer made an appearance. Girl. I was also busy making preparations elsewhere, all the way up until the galleries opened. So no, there was no one here on the first floor then. But I did make sure that all of the wings were locked up tight, all except for the autumn wing. I see. all that just to steer the culprit into the autumn rain, which is precisely where Mr. Gusto went. Sneaking into a building's pretty suspicious, however you slice it. She would know. Silence in the courtroom. Bitch, this is a fountain. This is not a courtroom. She has no grip on reality. None. I will permit no objections or interventions unless there is some evidence that the witness is lying. A courtroom. You know this is an art gallery, right? Mr. Gusto, if you could please continue by explaining why you opened the Pisces case. I wanted to see Frost's work up close. So I went up to the Gemini. Sorry, I guess it was supposed to be the Pisces statue. And I saw that the lid was frozen on tight. So I grabbed the blowtorch from nearby and tried to open it. When I finally got it open, gas came pouring out. Fascinating. His is the sort of flawless testimony attorneys can only dream of. Yeah, the everything sounds like a lie kind. I am none too satisfied with Mr. Gusto's explanation myself. Alas, there is no evidence to refute it. Come on, there must be something. It's Bound's story you should be questioning, not mine. I'm not the one who set up the gas trap. She could have killed anybody with that thing.
Objection!
She turned on the sprinklers as soon as the gas was released. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was gunning for the killer and nobody else. That killer being you, old pal. So you believe that self-confessed criminal? Self-confessed? Miss Bound is far from blameless in this affair, and she will have to pay for her crimes. But so will Mr. Frost's killer. You seem determined to pin Frost's murder on me. But I had no reason to kill him. You have no evidence to prove otherwise. Can we really not prove that he's the killer, Mr. Edward? Mr. Gusto fell victim to the poison gas. That much is indisputable. Yet, no matter how suspicious his actions in the present may seem, they prove nothing about the past. Yeah, but... Then what about you, Mr. Fender? There must be something we can do. You're right. I don't have evidence. We have plain so. Let's see now. If Gusto killed Frost, he must have had a reason. He claims not to have a motive. But that can't really be true, can it? If he did it, he has one. Not many people commit murder just for fun. In fact, your old man had a little back and forth with Von Karma about a probable motive too, remember? How can you possibly say that with any certainty? If their relationship had broken down for some reason. That very well could have been the motive behind this murder. Von Karma wouldn't let us talk to Gusto back then, but we can now. If we can put the pieces together, I think the picture we've been looking for might just emerge. Yes, I think you might be right. I need to think back over everything we know about the IS-7 incident, especially the questions that never got answered. And the finger marks? Were you the one wearing the gloves? Miss Scone denied that the finger marks on the frame were hers. But what if they were Mr. Gusto's? Perhaps he wanted to take a look at the ultimate cookbook for himself. So he asked me to go put in a new cartridge. He seemed to think there should have been more shots left than there were. In other words, the film ran out sooner than expected. Yes, the number of shots he took didn't line up with the number of shots remaining. But he thought maybe he'd just lost track somewhere along the way.
But did he?
My father noticed these things for a reason. I just need to piece them together correctly. In the absence of evidence, it's the only way to... Photographing the cookbook's contents would be the perfect way to steal its secrets undetected. And what if Mr. Gusto did just that? What if he used Mr. Tangaroa's camera to photograph the book? It'd be the perfect crime. So much better than stealing it and getting chased by the cops. A sneaky snapshot or 20, huh? That could work. The only question is, would he have done it? Good question. What about during afternoon tea? Didn't Delicious say that Gusto and Frost had missed out on the little tea party they had? Which brings me to the next question. When do we know for certain that Mr. Frost was still alive? Then, after the contest began, nobody saw hide nor hair of Frost as he had secluded himself in this room. The only person capable of entering his locked room was Tangaroa, possessing as he did the only key. Miss Stone, were Mr. Tangaroa's works the only ones you sampled? No, dear, I couldn't help myself. When I'd finished my afternoon tea, I tiptoed over to Chillywinks' room for a little taste, too. Chilly. Mr. Frost had kept himself inside his room after the contest had started. Gone by the time Miss Scone's sample work. And there's a good chance he was murdered before the end of afternoon. Mr. Gusto, you and Mr. Frost conspired to create works for the contest together, did you not? Huh. So you know my little secret. Mr. Fender was kind enough to inform me. Mr. Frost was in charge of the designs, while you were in charge of the flavor. Is that correct? What can I say? I still had a long way to travel on the road before becoming a master confectioner. We only collaborated up through the semifinal. Something changed after that. We both wanted to show what we could do. Show that we were better than Tangaroa.
Objection!
And why did you help Mr. Frost with his entry for the final? What grounds do you have to say that? Your own statement made to Mr. Von Karma 18 years ago. You told him that you'd been working together right up until the day before the final. Mr. Frost's entry was carved entirely from blocks of flavored ice. Ice which would have needed at least a day to freeze. And whose flavors were therefore have already been prepared by Mr. Gusto. Yes, which lines up perfectly with what Gusto told me. That he helped Frost until the day before the final. In that case, why didn't Mr. Frost reciprocate and help Mr. Gusto in return?
Oh, objection!
I can hardly be expected to read the minds of the dead. Fair. Fair. That's another game. So why didn't Mr. Frost help you in return? I submit that your relationship broke down for some reason. That became the basis of your motive for murder. That's not how it was. Sure, we stopped working together, but it was all perfectly friendly. You stopped working together in a friendly way? Kinda hard to imagine, but okay. Besides, how do you think I did it exactly? You think I just strolled into Tangaroa's room and killed Frost? I couldn't have killed the man while Tangaroa was in there working on his chocolate pieces, could I? So you see, it can't have been me. It shan't. I wouldn't be so sure. There must be a window of time when Mr. Tangaroa wasn't in his... If I can prove that, I can prove that Mr. Gusto had the opportunity to kill Mr. Frost. Oh, those are the last two, so they must go together. We can be sure that Mr. Frost was alive until the beginning of afternoon tea, making tea time the only window during which Mr. Gusto could have killed him. Are you satisfied with Mr. Gusto's story now, Mr. Edgeworth? Sadly, I'm afraid I'm still rather unsatisfied. But things are finally starting to become clear. The truth will soon come to light at last. You mean to say you have uncovered new evidence? Evidence? No. I was hoping I might convince Mr. Gusto to open it up to us about it instead. Oh, is it mind games time again? It is. Mr. Gusto, I have a question for you. I said I have a question for you. What is it? You chose to make your entry for the final on your own. I told you, I wanted to test myself. I wanted to prove I was the best in the world.
Objection!
If that were the case, then surely you wouldn't have chosen to cheat in the first place. So tell me, Mr. Gusto, why did you feel the need to team up with Mr. Frost? Man, so everybody was cheating in this. Time for mind chess. 18 years ago, Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost collaborated on the confectionery contest. But why did they work together? And why did they enter the contest in the first place? That's the information I need to get out of my opponent somehow. Oh god, 4? Mr. Gusto seems to have a habit of pretending to be asleep when things aren't going well. Let's start by focusing on why he chose to work with Mr. Frost. By my hand, now is the time to dig up the truth that was buried all those years ago. Why did you collaborate with Mr. Gusto? What inspired you to collaborate with Mr. Frost? We were acquaintances before we were contestants. He was interested in entering the contest, so he decided to sign up together. Your decision to pair up with a sculptor had nothing to do with your lack of faith in your skills? You don't know me. We joined forces because we wanted to make the most perfect creations possible, that's all. Frost's son and mine were in the same grade at school. We get along pretty well, too. Oh, so you were just two friends who happened to try for the title of World's Greatest Confectioner? That doesn't seem so far-fetched to me. Pretending to be asleep when the going gets tough won't work on me, I'm afraid. Mr. Frost was a sculptor, Mr. Gusto. I doubt he cared much about winning a title for confectioner. In which case, he probably had a different motive for taking part in the contest, wouldn't you say? Fine. It was me. I wanted that title. Frost was only in it for the prize, the ultimate cookbook. I see. Since your objectives dovetailed so neatly, we decided to work together. Then, something happened. A breakdown in your relationship, perhaps? And so, I want to know why. Mr. Prosecutor, I'm still quite unwell after my brush with death. Too hard. I'll be on my way back to the medical room. Oh, wait. Better wrap this up quickly. I'm already dangerously low on patience. Mr. Gusto is desperately trying to make an escape, but he's not going anywhere. Not as long as he's still keeping things from let's figure out why what he was really up. No time to leave. I need to pick the right line of questioning. You want to be hungry. You too had your eyes on something other than the title, didn't you? After all, I'm not sure the title of World's Greatest Confectioner even counts for that much. Now you're insulting the way of the confectioner? My only goal was to win that title. I didn't care about anything else. You have no idea how much it would have meant to me. Look, my sense of design may not have been up to snuff back then, but you should see me now. Oh, so you've improved. You bet I have. I didn't do all that training in Jingfa for nothing. I looked at the Tangaroa, spent hours poring over the designs of his work. Even used to watch his show with my son. Sounds to me like Mr. Tangaroa's work was especially influential in your early studies. And with his recipe book, might have even become the best someday. Maybe. The book was a real treasure, no doubt about that. Any confectioner would have wanted it. You claim that your only goal was to win the title. Yet you also seem to have had an interest in the contest's prize, the ultimate cookbook. The greatest collection of recipes by the world's greatest confectioner. I can't say I had absolutely no interest in it. And even if I did, what exactly is so wrong with that? Nothing, I suppose. Only that the book contains recipes for medicines, not everyone who entered the contest supposedly knew that. I feel like I'm finally getting somewhere. Can't let him slip from my grasp now. Stay calm, keep the pressure on. Next, let's find out why he wanted the cookbook. So, your plan was to win the cookbook and use it to help you with your own creations? What else? A book like that could have improved my craft tenfold. You could have made a lot of money if you'd sold it. I don't know much about what was actually in there. It is worth more than money, I'll tell you that. Come now, Mr. Gusto. I think you know more about the ultimate cookbook than you claim. They told us a little about it at the start of the contest. You know what kind of recipes it actually contained. That they weren't dessert recipes at all. I see you did your homework. Fine, so you know what was really in there. The Ultimate Cookbook, or the Angel's Cookbook. Give it its proper title. It's a collection of chemical formulas and ways to synthesize new medicines nobody had ever heard of. So, did know that the cookbook actually contained recipes for medicine. This could be an important clue. Did you know how valuable the cookbook really was? What kind of question is that? It was a collection of Tangaroa's recipes. There wasn't a confectioner in the world who wouldn't have wanted to get their hands on it. Back to the clue, my clue. Your designs may have improved thanks to your training in Jake Fa. You clearly didn't do enough work on your skills of deception. You've already admitted that you knew the Ultimate Cookbook was a collection of recipes for medicine. Thereby making your interest not gastronomical, but pharmaceutical in nature. You're a confectioner, Mr. Gusto. You had no professional interest in revolutionary new medicines, which suggests that your interests must have been personal. I underestimated you. Fine, you're right. Winning the title wasn't the only reason I entered the contest. I needed one of the recipes in that book. It was for my son. He was sick. Buzz, tell me more. That's none of your business. I've told you as much as you need to know. He looks rattled, but I can't let him off the hook. Let's find out what this mystery illness was. Gotten to the bottom of this. I can feel it. Just a few more moves. Tell me a little more about your son. He was my pride and joy, and my biggest fan. You entered the contest in order to help him? You clearly don't have children of your own. Any father would have done the same. I would have done anything to help him. Anything. He would come see me at the contest venue, too, right up through the semifinal. Really? He didn't get in the way of your work? You were trying to beat Samson Tangaroa. Surely you didn't have the time to look after a child. Yeah, well, I wanted to do what I could for him. He said he wanted to always be my first, or be the first to try my creations. You said your son was sick, Mr. Gusto. And yet he was able to come and join you for the contest? It wasn't that kind of illness. Nothing life-threatening anyway. So you needed the cookbook to cure your son. Yeah. Nowadays, you can get the medicine he needed anywhere. Back then, that book was our only hope. Which is why I didn't dare waste my time on fancy tea parties. I had to give my all to my work. And what about Mr. Tangaroa's work? Surely that tea break gave you the perfect opportunity to go steal a glance at it. What makes you think I had the energy or time to care about what the others had made? I think you've made it abundantly clear how much interest you had in Mr. Tangaroa's work. What's more, if you were determined to win the Ultimate Cookbook, I seriously doubt you would have passed up on a chance to take a peek at your competitors' entries. I'd had plenty of chances throughout the contest to see and sample my rivals' work. Each time I did, nothing seemed to have any flavor. Must have been nerves or something. Nothing Mr. Gusto tasted had any flavor? Seems like it could be quick. Could you tell me the name of the disease your son suffered from? You're a real cold customer, Mr. Prosecutor. Isn't it enough that he was seriously ill? Why would you force me to tell you more? You've already shared with me that your son's illness wasn't life-threatening. But why are you so reluctant to share any further details? It may not have been life-threatening, but that doesn't mean it hadn't been life-altering. I see. That must have been very hard on both of you. Of course it was. That's why I did everything I could. That's why I did everything I could to find a cure. We were desperate. He couldn't taste anything, not even his favorite desserts. COVID. He had the Rona. Was he overweight? As I understand it, the Ultimate Cookbook contains a recipe for a very particular medication. One that Mr. Tangaroa used to cure himself with his own taste disorder. So he had it too? Too, you say? So your son has a taste disorder then, am I correct? How did I let that slip? You've been asking me to believe that you needed to win the cookbook in order to cure your son. Was that really the case? Of course it was. What are you saying? I'm saying that I'm not so sure that's true based on everything you've told me. Time to Taste disorders are difficult to live with. It isn't easy not being able to enjoy your food. You should know, after all, as you just told me you'd experienced something like that during the contest. You said nothing was sampled had any flavor. Those were your words, correct? You seem to suggest that you were the one suffering from a taste disorder. Confectioner without a sense of taste? Not exactly ideal. Are you sure it wasn't actually your own condition you were seeking a cure for, Mr. Gusto? I've had enough of your speculations. I managed just fine in that contest. Made all my own entries. No problem. Sorry, but I'm afraid you're contradicting your own testimony. You already admitted that you and Mr. Frost had worked together during the contest. It's too late to claim you did it all on your own now. You would have us believe that you are a man of principle, a dedicated student of the confectioner's arts. Yet you abandoned those principles and conspired with Mr. Frost to rig the contest. All so you could cure your own taste disorder. You got me, Mr. Prosecutor. As you said, my sense of taste was shot. See, that's COVID, sir. Son's was fine. I'd kept it hidden for so long. 18 years and nobody knew. Sadly, you can lie to others, but you can't lie to me. Both Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost entered the contest hoping to obtain the ultimate cookbook for the medicine that would cure Mr. Gusto's disorder and the money it would bring in for Mr. Frost. Thus, an uneasy alliance was forged. And that, I believe, is checkmate. That's his catchphrase now. I'll admit it. You're good. I never told anybody any of this, but you figured it all out anyway. It's true. 18 years ago, I developed a Guja. We're gonna Google that real quick, so that I know how to pronounce that. A Guja, that's for real. A Juge?
So you think you know Wix, do you really?
I got an ad.
First up, we've got
Stupid ads.
You're looking at how to pronounce these words, this curious word, and more words. This one is the loss of smell. The one we're looking at today is the loss of taste. A different sense. Agusia is that?
Agusia.
Agusia.
Sure. I developed a Guja. What's a Guja? Yeah, see, I knew they were gonna say about 8 times. It's a taste disorder that makes it so you can't taste anything at all. Infectioner's worst nightmare. Well, that wouldn't be so bad if you were trying to lose weight. Mr. Fender. Is this what Mr. Tangaroa had as well? No, the big man had what they called dissociated taste disorder. Basically, some things he could taste just fine, while others had no flavor at all. So he suffered too. Can't have been easy. Not when there wasn't a way to cure it on the market. Which is why you needed Mr. Tangaroa's cookbook. You admit now that it was the real reason you entered the contest? It was only one of the reasons. I wasn't lying when I said I wanted the title. When I put my mind to something, it gets done, and I won't lose to anybody. I may not have been able to taste it then, but I still knew my stuff was good enough to win. Oh, so you went into the final thinking you stood a good chance of winning. Of course. What Mr. said about Tangaroa, about what Mr. Tangaroa thought of Mr. Gus's creation? Mr. Gus's creations were a perfect balance of flavor and design, at least up through the semi-final. Disappointingly, his entrance for the final was subpar on both counts. You were told that your entry for the final was far from the prize-winning taste sensation you described. What happened, Mr. Gusto? What went wrong that day? Fine. You want me to talk? I'll talk, but you're not gonna like what I have to say. Oh shit, it's a showdown! Frost and I were working together right up through the semi-final. I handled the flavor, he did the designing. But I wanted to face Tangaroa in the final on my own. No help, just me and my skills. So I helped Frost with his entry, but mine I did alone. If it didn't taste good in the final, that's on me. What can I say? I lacked training. What can I say? That's all there is to it. Happy now? Ugh. There don't seem to be any obvious contradictions in his testimony. Yep. Not that I thought it'd be easy to get anything real out of him. Managed to not let slip what really happened for 18 years after all. Why don't you try pushing him a bit, Miles Areno? See if you can't shake something loose. I think I just might have to. Oh my god, I hit the wrong button.
Hold it!
And yet, I heard that your creations prior to the final were scored highly for their food. What went wrong? Was there some kind of cooking accident on that day? No, taste disorder. My sense of taste failed me. It's as simple as that. But Mr. Frost's century was complimented on its flavor. Your sense of taste hadn't failed you then. Did something happen overnight? I don't think he's gonna spill any more beans, Mr. Edgeworth. Perhaps I should ask him about something else. Did something change between the semi-final and the final, Mr. Gusto? Not really. The only difference between the semi-final and the final was that Price wasn't out today.
Objection!
I can think of one significant difference between the semi-final and the final, Mr. Gusto. Your son. This is him in the photograph, correct? You told me that he was here with you up through the semi-final. What of it? What indeed? He was here with you until the semi-final, and suddenly wasn't for the final. Just as suddenly, your work went from being lauded for its flavor to being lambasted for it. I don't think that's a coincidence, do you? Oh, so he's worried about his son. Well, that's fair. He wasn't just spending quality time with his father, playing a much more pivotal role than that. I just wanted him to see me work. I just wanted him to see me hard at work. Show him that I was trying my best for us. Who knows? Maybe it was being here that helped me do so well in those early rounds. Oh my god. He talks a good game, but nothing about this guy screams super dad to me. Indeed, thankfully, we would only have to give such an idea credence. We would only have to give such an idea credence if his story were true. Give such an idea. After all, how much could the encouragement of one small boy affect the taste of a grown man? Gusto prided himself on the flavor of his creation. Turns out at the time he was getting his high standard over such a devastating loss. Cheer, your son was here to cheer you on. That wasn't all he was here to do, was it? You're a very suspicious man, Mr. Prosecutor. Why not try answering yourself for a change? What was an elementary school kid doing here other than to support his father? Your son knew the taste of your work pretty well, I imagine, Mr. Gusto. He was my biggest fan. Of course he knew it. In which case, he would have been a good judge of whether something tasted on brand, so to speak, no? What are you implying? You've already told us that you were suffering from a taste disorder. Oh my god, we do not need a flashback right here. Seriously? You just flashed back like 3 minutes. I'll admit it, you're good. I never told anybody of this. Figured it all out anyway. True, 18 years ago I developed a ageusia. What the hell? No one knew about your condition. Indeed. I doubt Mr. Frost would have wanted to continue collaborating with you had he found out. After all, it was your job to make sure his creations tasted good. Therefore, your son just wasn't here to support you. He was helping you by test tasting your work. Dang, now it all makes sense. Frost stuff tasted good because it really was finished the day before when the kid was still there. Vivid imagination, Mr. Prosecutor. Do you seriously think I'd trust a kid to tell me how to adjust the taste of my masterpieces? I have some pride, you know, even back then. Did you know? My designs may not have been much to write home about then, but I always knew my work to tasted better than anybody else. You think I'd risk everything by putting my reputation in the hands of a child? This is just more speculation. That's all it is. In that case, I asked to speak with your son this instant. Let's see how much of a story he can corroborate. Happy for you. My son is no longer my concern. What? As soon as I got my sense of taste back, I went straight to Zhangfa to start my training. Got off all ties with the kid for good. What? You abandoned your own child? That ain't the half of it. No one knows where he is, even now. Cops have looked all over for him, but no dice. So, still think you can prove your asinine theory? I'd like to see you try. Yeah. You think I care about anything else besides confectionery? Think again. I got my sense of taste back. What need do I have for a son? What the fuck? Silence in the courtroom. While Mr. Gusto's words and actions may demonstrate a certain lack of humanity on his part, the goddess of justice cannot judge him for that. Therefore, Mr. Edgeworth, I believe it is time for you to admit defeat. Yeah, give it up. 18 years is a long time for anything to surface now. Proof of it was. Mr. Edgeworth, we have to do something. If we don't, the truth might be lost forever. Where are you? Gumshoe. Where's my boyfriend? Imagine his blood. It could possibly be, but I'll get it tested right away, sir. Please do, detective. Last piece of the puzzle, sure. Once you know whose blood it is, hey, Miles, try to cut in on your mind palace time. But I was wondering, our Gusto didn't care to just check up on the body, did he? And he tried to open the case. Captain Mundo. Think we'd have anything that might explain why he tried to do that? I mean, get back in time with a certain piece of evidence. That's quite enough idle chatter. Now, if you... Mr. Edgeworth, sir, sorry to keep you waiting. Ooh, speak of the devil. Well, it's about damn time, dummy. I take it you have the test results, detective? Yes, sir. The lab just got back to me. Detective, please. Court is in session. Now then, am I right to assume that you are bringing us the evidence Mr. Edgeworth was just speaking of? What? Hey, no fair! Why didn't anybody tell me about any of this? It is indeed the evidence in question, Your Honor. It needed tested, so I asked him to carry it out. What the? Why is everybody always helping you? I'm supposed to be the one in charge here. Mr. Winter, sorry I didn't involve you. This is important. Can we at least hear what the detective has to say? Well, alright. So, Detective Gumshoe, what did the results have to tell us? You're not gonna believe this, but the owner of the blood we found in the liquid at the bottom of the Gemini case is Carmelo Gusto, the victim of the poison gas attack. What the hell? What are you talking about? Thank you, Detective. You've been very helpful. Well, looks like my suspicions were correct. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, what do you mean? Explain yourself. What is the significance of this blood to this case? It's only the very thing the perpetrator of the IS-7 incident has been trying to hide all these years. The fact that your blood was found inside the Gemini case, Mr. Gusto, is as good as us finding your blood lying right next to Mr. Frost's body. Why would there be traces of your blood in there, of all places, Mr. Gusto? If you won't answer her, Your Honor. If you won't answer her honor, Mr. Gusto, then I will. It wasn't just his blood in the liquid from the Gemini case. There were traces of salt and sugar, too. And if you remember, one particular part of Mr. Frost's work was allegedly very salty indeed. Oh, yeah. You're talking about what the Lish had told us back then, right? What was it again? Did they ever? I've never tried ices so scrumptious in all my life. Really? Man, I wish I could have had a bite. Well, scrumptious except for the salty bit, of course. That was unbearable. Salty bit? It's in the other photo you got there. This bit, the harpy thing. Gemini's liar? Yes, the liar, and only the liar, tasted as if it had been flavored with salt. There were no traces of salt anywhere else in Mr. Frost's entry. Very interesting. And perhaps you can tell us, Mr. Edgeworth, where did the salt on the liar come from?
Take that!
This is the lamp from the IS-7 incident? Indeed. And I believe that the salt that gave the liar its flavor came from just such a lamp. Mr. Von Karma had established that both salt lamps in Mr. Tangaroa's room. Oh, that both salt lamps were in Mr. Tangaroa's room at the time of the crime. One of them was used to kill Mr. Frost. And it was stained with his blood. But no corresponding pool of blood was found in Mr. Tangaroa's room. Right, because the culprit had chucked the piece of chocolate with that on it into the little stream. Furthermore, aside from the liar, no traces of salt were found anywhere else in Mr. Frost's room either. Hey, come to think of it, the lamps we found in Alicia's room were both broken. The lamps appear to be broken. Bulbs are smashed, both of them. Maybe they fell and broke on the floor? We never did figure out how the one that wasn't used to kill Frost got busted, but are we thinking maybe it had Gusto's point on it at some point? Anyone whose blood was found on one of the lamps would have been a person of interest to the police. So the killer needed to hide the blood somehow, and in a way that wouldn't arouse suspicion. Are you seriously suggesting that the liar was used to do just that? I am. I suspect that the bloody salt was somehow applied to the liar so that it could be hidden inside the case. Because unlike the fountain water, the sculptures would have needed more time and care to test properly. And so he waited and waited for his chance to dispose of the liar undetected. Then, the reason he's here today is 18 years ago, Mr. Frost's body and the evidence pointing to his killer were taken away together. This, of course, was not part of the perpetrator's plan, and thus a new dilemma arose. How could he be sure that neither Mr. Frost's body nor the evidence wouldn't be discovered someday? So back he comes 18 years later, sneaking in bright and early to try to cover his tracks. Well, Mr. Gusto, are you finally ready to admit it? That you were the one responsible for the IS-7 incident? all because of you that Samson... Ah. Stuff. So I finally got caught, huh? All these years later. Nobody came close back then, not even the big shot prosecutor or the attorney. That's some impressive work, Mr. Prosecutor. I have to hand it to you. You admit it then? That you murdered Artie Frost? Sure. Sure I do. I did it. I killed him. But he only had himself to blame. He had it coming. He had it coming. What do you mean by that? He agreed to help me. We were supposed to help each other out so that one of us could win. Whoever won was supposed to let the other use the cookbook. But on the day of the final, the rat finally showed his true colors. Seriously, Frost? We had a deal. Sorry, I'm not helping you in the final. Our little agreement is over, Gusto. But I helped you! You spent all day yesterday making the... I spent all day yesterday making the ice for your pieces. Did you? And can you prove that, I suppose? Wait. You were planning to betray me from the start, weren't you? After Frost double-crossed me, I had to make my piece for the final myself. And like you said, my son wasn't there, but I didn't have any help with the flavor either. So much for the pride you claim to have in your ability to make delicious desserts. Go ahead and judge. You have no idea what it was like for someone like me to lose my sense of taste. I gave up everything to become the best. Everything. I take pride in that. Something someone like you could never understand. You're right. I don't understand. Do you take pride in the fact that you resorted to murder? Or that you abandoned your son? Why would I want to understand someone who could do such things? Man can't afford to rely on other people. I learned that the hard way 18 years ago. My son never showed up on the day of the final. And in hindsight, I wouldn't be surprised if Frost was the reason why. How would you think that? What exactly happened to your son? How am I supposed to know? I told you, he's none of my concern anymore. And according to you guys, nobody knows where he is now either. And you don't care? You're horrible! So with his disappearance, so too went your chances of winning, correct? Yeah, I had to find another way of getting my hands on that book. That's when inspiration struck. I decided to skip afternoon tea and snuck into Tangaroa's room. It should have been so easy. All I had to do was photograph the formulas I needed and get out of there. But then Frost showed up. I thought I might find you here. Stealing recipes from the famous cookbook, Tut tut. Frost. What's this? A cure for taste disorders? Oh no, that's just too tragic. A confectioner who can't taste anything? What will people say? You tell anybody, I'll burn. You'll what? You can't even hit me, you miserable worm. Why, you. Frost shoved me hard when I went to punch him. Knocked me clean off my feet. I crashed into one of the lamps. Must have been when my blood got on it. But Mr. Frost wasn't the first to get hurt. When it was all over, I realized I had to get rid of that blood somehow, so I scraped off all the bloody bits. I dissolved those salt shavings in some flavored ice mixture, brushed it all over the heart. That's how you made the evidence linking you to the murder vanish. Frost was going to blackmail me. He would have made me give him money to keep quiet about my condition. You decided you had to kill him? Blech. Yeah, I guess I did. Why would I let him live? Would you want someone holding something like that over your head? Besides, he's the one who drew first blood. Makes for a solid case of self-defense, don't you think? So that was the impetus behind it all. Anyway, I initially took the lamp from Frost's room, or to Frost's room. Straight there once I'd figured out how I was going to hide the bloody part. Inspired by all the ice sculpting tools lying about in place, I guess. You're not as dumb as you pretend to be. Yeah. Figured I could use them to chip it off and grind it up. Once that was done, painting the stuff all over the harp was easy. Why Samson? Why Samson? It's so hard to say Samson without going Samson with the P in it. Samson. Why did you have to frame him? I never meant for the cops to pin it on him. That was your fault. You and the rest of them. Why do you think I went to the trouble of placing the lamps and claws back in Scone's room? One reason to plant the murder weapon in the room of another contestant. That's to cast suspicions on that person. What? You trying to frame me, Gusty Pants? Yeah, but why? Why poor old me? I respected Tangaroa. He was the best, a true champion. I would never have wanted him to take the fall. You're a fraud. Your work wasn't even real. You had no respect for our craft at all. You deserve to be punished for what you did. Oh, Gusty, how could you? Had you refrained from eating Tangaroa's work, Frost's body wouldn't have been found. My plan was to wait until Tangaroa was judging your room. That's when I'd sneak the corpse into Frost's room and freeze it. Thanks to you, bound here, found it before I had a chance to retrieve it. I don't understand. Why did you need to freeze his body at all? Oh, why indeed? Mr. Edgeworth, surely you must know. Why did Mr. Gusto need to freeze Mr. Frost's body? Mr. Gusto needed to freeze Mr. Frost's body in order to obscure the time of death. If they determined that the murder occurred during afternoon tea, he would have been an obvious suspect. Bingo. Freezing Frost's body wasn't simple. Preparing everything took time, so I decided to put his body in the chest in Tangaroa's room while I got everything ready in Frost's. At the time, it seemed like the perfect hiding place. Never counted on some gluttonous pharmacist showing up and making the whole ship collapse. I still don't get it, though. Why disguise the body as an ice sculpture at all? The sooner it was found, the smaller the effect of freezing it would have had on masking the time of death. Therefore, he needed to disguise it, at least until it fully frozen. How awful. Using Mr. Frost's own work to help you cover up the truth behind his murder. Ironically, Tangaroa would have just been fine if the body hadn't been found before I got it out of his room. If only things had gone to plan, wouldn't even had to have been arrested, let alone convicted. You mean it was my fault? Everything that happened to Samson was all because I found the body? Don't let him get inside your head, Jude. None of this is your fault. If it wasn't Samson, it would have been Delicia instead. She would have been the only one there. She would have been the one arrested. Either way, there's only one person to blame here, and that's Gusto. It didn't help that the initial detective was so bad at his job, either. Never even told the prosecutor that the body had vanished. So, Mr. Von Karma had unwittingly placed Mr. Tangaroa under arrest in the absence of a body? I mean, I guess it would explain why he was so keen to wrap things up. Still, you'd think he'd notice something as big as that if he'd taken a look at a few reports, right? Not if someone had been deliberately distorting the facts of the case, though. Either way, it seems that Mr. Von Karma didn't know about the body until after the arrest had been made. But admitting that would have spoiled his perfect record. He kept it to himself and proceeded to prosecute Mr. Tangaroa regardless. Can this really be true? You don't feel bad at all? Someone spent 18 years in prison because of you. Sticks and stones, girlie. Sticks and stones. What a jerk. I ought to arrest you right now, pal. God, bastard. I'm afraid I can't allow you to do that, detective. Oh, you noticed, huh? Glad somebody did. The judge is right. You can't lay a finger on me. What? Why? Just confessed to murder. No idea, huh? Then I guess I'd better lay it out for you. I killed Frost 18 years ago. The statute of limitations for murder in this country is 15 years. You do the math. You can't arrest me. You think I'd have confessed otherwise? That's right. The statute of limitations is only 15 years. Is this really the end of the line, Mr. Edgeworth? Once the statute has expired, he can't be charged, so... But... How unfortunate, Mr. Edgeworth. I'm afraid that both Mr. Gusta's confession and your deductions will have to be struck from the record. That Mr. Tangaroa's conviction will remain in place. But you've finally proven that the police never had Mr. Frost's body in their possession. Even if we can't arrest Mr. Gusto, surely Mr. Tangaroa has grounds for a retrial on that basis. Does he? I wouldn't be so sure. I'm afraid that the goddess's judgment are somewhat harder to overturn than you might imagine. The committee needs for the verdict from 18 years ago to stand no matter what. Bad luck, Mr. Prosecutor. That's the type of laugh I expect him to have. There must be something we can do. Something to bring Mr. Gusto down.
Hold it!
Depending on your actions over the last 18 years, the statute may not have expired yet. This ought to be good. Alright, I got nothing to hide. If there's something you want to ask it. Very well, tell us where you've been and what you've been doing since the incident. Sure. Not long after the contest, I was able to cure my taste disorder thanks to the formula from that book. Not so long after that, I went to Zhengfa to really buckle down and hone my craft. That explains a lot. We tried to contact you after the fact, but I guess you were long gone by then, huh? Could be. Let's see. Around a year after the murder. That was before Tangaroa's last day in court. Going to Zhengfa was the best thing I ever did. Flavor, design, I'm the full package now. What's a wolf?
Objection!
And all on the backs of those whose lives you destroyed. What's an omelet without a few eggs? Nothing, Mr. Prosecutor, nothing. You're evil. Sticks and stones, girlie. You can't arrest me, and that's all that matters. I need more to work with. There's gotta be something I can get out of him. Maybe I can push him further on the statements he just made. Is there anything I should follow up on? I'd like you to tell us more about your training in Zhengfa, if you wouldn't mind. If you please. Fine. I later went to Zhangfa to train, and I finally became the best in the world.
Objection!
The statute of limitations for murder is subject to the following statute is suspended should the suspect flee to a foreign country, which means that the time you spend abroad doesn't count toward the total time under the statute. No way! Looks like someone hit the pause while he was in Zhangfa. It appears that there may be time left on the clock yet, but that will depend on how long you stayed in Zhangfa, Mr. Gusto. It was 3 years exactly. 3 years? Hold on. Nobody say anything until I've done the math. The murder happened 18 years back. Statute is 15 years. Add 3 overseas. 15 plus 3 makes exactly 18, which means... No way! Mr. Edgeworth, you did it! The statute hadn't expired after all. Bingo! 18 years exactly. Glad you worked it out for yourselves. He's just been stringing us the whole time. Why is he laughing? We're good, aren't we? We can arrest him now. I hate to break it to you, little sus, but IS-7 went down at the end of December. It's April now, which means, strictly speaking, it's been 18 years and 4 months since Frost's murder. If Gusto's stay in Zhangfa really lasted 3 years on the nose, it's not enough. We're a few months short. Not enough? But, what did I tell you? You can't touch me. I hate to admit it, but he'd read the board well and made his confession. How unfortunate, Mr. Edgeworth. If only the statute had been suspended for another year. Those who would overturn the goddess's judgment must be willing to pay the price should they fail. And you, Mr. Edgeworth, have failed. Must be something I can do. Do it. Law can't bring Mr. Gusto to justice, then. Jude, what are you thinking?
Objection!
There's no need to go adding to your rap sheet just yet. We're not done here. Far from it, because there's still a way we can nail him. There is? Alright, Malzarino, pep talk. I need you to think back over everything we know about the case. Gusto's overlooked one critical thing that you yourself were led to believe wrongly about. Which is, he wasn't there for Samson's last trial, remember? Best I can tell, he doesn't seem to know what the final verdict came down that day is. Which means there's still one way left. Crack open your statutes for dummies there and take another look. 17 years ago, they really did a number on Samson and framed him like a pretty picture. If we make the verdict now, we can make Gusto pay in full for what he's done. Kendra, you... Those who overturn the goddess's judgment pay the price should they fail. Samson's my client, Miles. I can't bring myself to use the source of his pain as a weapon in this fight. So, whether we play our last card or not, it's gonna have to be up to you. Bringing with Augusta. Hard fought. Action to play that card or not? My father and Mr. Von Karma. One sought to reveal the truth, the other to hide it. I know which path I choose to follow. The one that seeks to reveal the truth. This court has reached its final verdict. The record will state that Mr. Gusto has been found not guilty.
Objection!
No, Your Honor. Mr. Carmelo Gusto is absolutely guilty, and I refuse to let him walk away. His crimes are too unspeakable to go unpunished. You mean to suggest that you have grounds upon which to call for his arrest? I do. Who's statue though?
Take that!
Very well. Is there a particular page of the IS case you would like us to refer to? I'd like to direct your attention to the page concerning the suspect. As you can see, Samson Tangaroa was convicted as an accomplice. And it took around 1 year from his indictment for the verdict to be reached. Yes, that does seem to be the case. The book you gave us details certain conditions pertaining to the statute of limitations for murder. One of them, as I mentioned, is that the statute is suspended if the suspect flees the country. And another states that the statute is suspended from the time of any accomplice's indictment to the end of their trial. What? Tangaroa was convicted as an accomplice? Yep. I guess you were in Jangfa when the verdict came down. Samson was convicted as an accomplice, not as the main perpetrator. Which is clearly news to you. Not good news either, am I right? But how can that be? Tangaroa wasn't an accomplice to anyone. He was innocent, and you know it. Oh, we know it. That's what we've been trying to prove all along. And in a pleasing twist of fate, his wrongful conviction will be the very thing that sets him free. You spent 3 years in Jangfa, and your accomplice, Samson Tangaroa, was on trial for 1 year. It means you can still be charged with Mr. Frost's murder up to 19 years after the fact. In other words, the statute of limitations hasn't expired at all. Get fucked. The goddess's judgment is infallible. Infallible. But that of her servants, it appears, is not. It seems the prosecutor in charge of this case may have erred. Unbelievably, we may have no choice but to instigate a full inquiry. No, how could this...
Objection!
18 years. That's a long time to let somebody else suffer for your crimes. It's time to pay the piper, Gusto, and not a moment too soon. But I'm finally the greatest. My brilliance has been recognized. I gave up everything for this. Everything. Even my son. More's the pity. You can't run from the law forever, because the bills come due at last. What's he doing? Oh, what is he doing? Oh. Does that make you feel better? Mr. Gusto's all set for his trip downtown, sir. Oh, good. Which means it's your turn next, right? I suppose so. Judes. So sorry, everybody. I've caused you all so much trouble. But thank you. Thank you so much for bringing Mr. Gusto to justice at last. I'm afraid there's no escaping the consequences of your actions, Miss Bound. But those actions were born of the legal mistakes that were made all those years ago. I'll know that. Allow me to apologize in return, on behalf of the prosecution. Oh, no, I have no one to blame but myself for it all. Starting with those sculptures. Hey, Jude, do you think maybe you want me to represent you? I'm not some nervous newbie anymore. There's no way I'm letting you take the rap for everything. What? Oh, she got crying out the rabies. Look at that. Oh, I'd be honored. Thank you, Mr. Fender. Sorry, ma'am. You gotta come with me now. Of course. Judge Gavale, why did you lie to us? Lie? What are you talking about? You implied that there was no case for a retrial, but as we've proven, that wasn't true. Surely anyone truly committed to seeing justice done would have called one as soon as the body was found. I am under no obligation to answer such questions. Really have no of doing so. Truly, you are proving to be quite a threat to the Committee for Prosecutorial Excellence. As such, you give me little choice but to report back on your continued transgressions. No doubt you will be called to appear before the committee in due course. Now, I must be on my way. She has no chill. What the heck? And after you caught the real killer and everything. Isn't that what prosecutors are supposed to do? Regardless of how it may all play out, I will never regret what we accomplished here today. Mr. Edgeworth. Hey, Mr. Edgeworth. Yes? Why did you stick your nose in this case anyway? You weren't even on the job. My job is to bring the truth to light, Mr. Winter. Not only as a prosecutor, but as a person. I don't get it. I wouldn't expect you to understand, not as long as you believe that closing a case makes you a winner. That's going way over my head. I'm going home. What was that all about? Issa still has a lot to learn as well. Wilesy! Yes? I just wanted to say old Craggy Pegleg would have been proud of you today. Oh, look at me tearing up. That and thanks for helping poor Sammy Poople. Of course. Hey, Edgy. Looks like you cleared everything up, huh? So, what happened exactly? I was kind of busy sketching. Wait, where did Judy and Verity go? Wow, you really weren't paying attention, were you? Though I'm loath to admit it, Larry's sketches did come through for us on more than one occasion. Not that I'm about to tell him that. With all the glaring, will ya? Whatever it did, I'm sorry. Calm down, Larry. I wasn't glaring at you. You totally were. You're just like your pop. He was a terrible liar, too. He was? Listen, I'm gonna head out. I need to fill Samson in on what went down today. You wanna come with? Yes, of course. Great, then I'm coming too. So what's Mr. Tangaroa like? I can't wait to finally meet him. Oh, he's a real sweetheart. You'll love him. Keep him all locked up. He can't help but make all sorts of cookies and cakes for everyone. Why, 3 p.m. cake extravaganza is a thing for prisoners and guards alike. Really? That sounds awesome. You think there'll be any left for us to try? Did you find a few slices of chocolate cake in the prison the other day? Could they have been some of Mr. Tangaroa's baked goods? He's still in his tux? Gummy, what are you doing here? I heard you all were coming to see Mr. Tangaroa, so I volunteered to escort him. Hello, friends. Hello, new friends. I'm Samson Tangaroa. Prosecutor Miles Edgeworth at your service. Mr. Edgeworth's trusty sidekick, Kay Faraday. Very nice to meet you both. Miles here is Gregory's son. Is that so? Your father was very kind to me and fought so hard for my case. But in the end, I betrayed him and made a false confession. Don't worry, Mr. Tangaroa. Mr. Fender has explained everything to me. Sure did. Now we're here to tell you the truth about what happened 18 years ago. The truth? Judy did all that. Me? Crazy kid racked her brain for 18 years until she'd finally figured out how to set you free. What can I say? Turns out she really would do anything for you. Oh, Judy. I never did anything to deserve such devotion. Come now, Mr. Tangaroa. I think we all know that's not true. The bond between the two of you has held strong for all these years, after all. You think so? Guess I'd better show him. The bond. Uh-oh.
Take that!
Those chocolates. Judy made them, didn't she? Yes, she did. They're super delicious and sweet. Miss Bound continued making them just as you taught her, even after that fateful day. So that there would always be some waiting for you when you finally came home. I bet they're beyond super sweet then, aren't they? Very much so, I'm afraid. I only wish we could hand them to you. Don't worry, sir. I'll make sure he gets them later. Which would be a clear breach of prison policy. Not that I have the authority to stop him anyway. Thank you so very much. You know, Detective, something about you reminds me of Detective Bad. Really, pal? Because I look up to him a lot. He's my role model. You don't say. It seems fate likes to bring people of all sorts together, huh? Hang in there, Samson. Just a little longer. I should be able to get you out soon. Sorry it's taken so long. Nobody should have to wait 18 years to get justice. Don't be silly, Eddie. I'm the one who should be saying sorry. Or rather, thank you. Truly. Samson. Well, guess it's my turn to wait for Judy to come home now. I'd better make sure there's something delicious on the table for her when she finally walks through the door. Don't let me down, Eddie. Leave it to me, big guy. IS-7 incident. It's been 18 long years. This case we'd inherited from my father. It's finally coming to a close. Hey, Miles. Thanks for today. Sorry for forcing you to make the final call like that. Not at all. I simply made the call that felt right to me. Huh? What are you guys talking about? You know how Samson was wrongfully convicted? he had to pretend that he wasn't in order to nail Gusto. But to use his false conviction against him, even to save him, as his lawyer, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Yeah, I can see that. But now that Gusto's behind bars, I can finally start to get that wrongful conviction overturned. Yes, and I'm sure you will. Wait a minute, does this mean that even if you were only doing what's right, the false conviction had been overturned before today, Mr. Gusto would have gotten away scot-free? Yup. It's what we folks in the trade like to call a legal contradiction. The law is far from perfect. Because of things like legal contradictions, right? Yeah, but you never know. Things might change. Law is always evolving, just like us humans. Your Uncle Eddie and Miles Areno are included, am I right? Potential for growth and change. People and the law. So, Miles, are you going to keep fighting crime as a prosecutor? Or help people as an attorney? Something tells me you've got a big decision ahead of you. One only you can answer. No, let's just say I won't complain if you show up at the office one day. And on that note, it's time for me to skedaddle. I owe you big time. I always repay my debts. But for now... Thanks again for today. I mean it. Kind of in a hurry to get out of here, do you? Dead. Honestly speaking, I was him a debt of gratitude. After all, he gave me the chance to reckon with my father's final case. When I was a boy, all I ever dreamed of was becoming an attorney like my father. But then, during my time with Mr. Von Karma, I learned the way of the prosecutor instead. Eventually, with the help of some good friends, I found my own voice and a new way to live. But now... Now my career as a prosecutor is at risk of being taken away from me. Maybe time to take another long, hard look at how I want to live my life, whether I like it or not. April 2nd. Edgeworth and Co. Law Offices. Hey, Gregory. Sorry for reporting in so late. May have taken 18 years, but we're finally in a position to prove Samson's innocence. All thanks to your boy Miles. I couldn't have done it without him. Should have seen him. The way he fought for the truth gave me chills. It was like I was watching you. Look, I know I'm not half the attorney you were. Those guiding principles you tried to instill in me, I like to think that I'm embodying them now as I carry on your legacy. Here's hoping. Your boy will be joining me in that soon. Am I going to fight crime as a prosecutor or help people as an attorney? What is the right answer? Which path should I choose? The Turnabout Legacy. Alright. That was a long one. But all finished. So next would be a Turnabout Forsaken. Anyway, yeah, so that's all for the Turnabout Legacy. that I am going to bed. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. I will see you all.